Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of Ray and Terry Live. My name is Terry Coker, and I'm here today with my good friend, fill in the blank for me, Ray Fanning.
Your good friend Ray.
My good friend Ray.
Hello, everyone. We're glad you're here, and we look forward to our discussion today.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. Thanks for looking at our videos. If you've seen our website, hireyourbestboss.com. Thanks for connecting with us on LinkedIn. Just thanks to our audience, and thanks for all the questions that you send in. Ray and I are franchise consultants. Ray, tell everybody, what is a franchise consultant and what does a franchise consultant do?
A franchise consultant is a coach who will work with people to help them explore the boundaries, the possibilities of business ownership. And a good franchise consultant, a good franchise coach, will help people, first of all, build a strategy or strategies, and then help them go through and identify different business ownership options that meet their strategy to help them get to where they want to be. You're where you are today, right now. There's a strategy which talks about where taking you to where your goals are. And in essence, it's a coach who guides you through the process and allows you to learn about all your options.
Yeah, we're not salespeople. We're truly consultants. And so we're going to teach you an informed decision process. Today, we're going to give you resources. We're going to go over questions, and we're going to talk today about workforce reduction. It's a theme that we're just hearing at every turn today. So we're going to spend more time talking about that. And Ray and I got started. We were answering people's questions on LinkedIn and writing out long, detailed answers. And I called Ray one day and I said, man, I'm getting tired of writing these answers out, but I have an idea. And Ray said, what's that? And I said, let's take someone's question and let's do a video answer. You answer the question, I'll answer the question, and then we'll send them a video so they can watch our answer instead of just reading it, and it'll be more interactive. And that's what we started to do. And it got traction. And so we took all of our video answers and put them up on a URL called hireyourbestboss.com and created a free resource for you. We call it our learning community. Tell people about our learning community, Ray.
Our learning community is designed to help people understand and sharpen their tools. And what I mean by understand and sharpen their tools is understand what tools they have at their fingertips, specifically in terms of potentially owning a business, whether it's a full-time owner operators, all the way to an investor type business ownership. And if you're a part of the learning community, you may already own multiple businesses and multiple brands. You may be somebody who's just thinking about doing it, and all are welcome into this learning community, and everybody has pieces to offer, and it helps everybody sharpen their tools.
Yeah, and another resource for you is a question and answer call with one of us. So we're going to ask you today to tell us where you're from around the country. Put that in the chat box. We'd love to know where you're at. And if you have a question for us, put that in there also. But if you don't get your questions answered today, you can click the link below, send us a direct message, email us, call us, text us. It doesn't matter. And schedule a call with us. So we call a question and answer call, Q&A calls, so that we can go one-on-one and get your questions answered. We will meet you where you are. We will answer any question that you have about franchising. And that's one of our resources along with our learning community. And so we said today, Ray, we're going to talk about workforce reduction, and particularly one thing that we've learned just recently that's a disturbing trend for people getting laid off.
Oh yeah, the getting workforce reduction, getting laid off, wage compression.
Wage compression.
Ooh.
I have to admit that I hadn't heard that term. It wasn't in my lexicon. But when I learned about what wage compression was, I was startled. I was upset. And tell us what wage compression is.
Yeah, wage compression can mean a couple different things, but what I really see with wage compression today, what they're talking about, is when somebody, you've been at a company, let's say you're working at a company and you've been there for the last 5 years and you're doing the best you can, you're getting your cost of living going up a little bit, hopefully you're getting hopefully you're keeping up with inflation, and all of a sudden there's a new hire, someone who is brought in, maybe your same position, and you've been there getting all, working, putting in your time, being loyal, and that new person comes in, not experienced, and they're making more or getting better, getting better benefits, like doing better than the person who's been there. And
Financial standpoint.
from a financial standpoint, and boy, that's got to make the water cooler a little uncomfortable.
That's a bad day at the water cooler. Okay. When you find out that the new person, is making more than you have, it leads to distrust with your company. What that says is I can't trust my company to take care of me long term. I'm not getting regular increases, and inflation is really eating away at, my net W-2 pay stub. So, what do you do about that? Well, we all know it's a tight labor market. And so companies are trying to compete for resources, and they're having to pay, new hires at a higher rate. That's wage compression. And that's really a difficult day when you find out, that the person who just came in, HR just delivered them to your department, they don't make as much. And that's really hard on the new person because they may not be welcomed into the environment, when that fact gets learned. Do you have any people you're working with right now, Ray, that are talking about or are in the middle of wage compression?
Terry, I do. And what's weird is I have people who are dealing with wage compression, but at the same point, they're also hearing about layoffs. So there's layoffs going on, and a lot of layoffs going on. There's fear of layoffs. You're seeing people laid off. So I'm seeing people who both are, the market's tight in one sense. They're bringing people in, but at the same point, they fear of losing their job. So it's very unsettled. You could take a chance to leave your job and get another job, I guess, and hope for wage compression, or you could go with the idea that you're going to get make some more money. I mean, some people are on the other side of wage compression, so it's a little bit strange. Do you have a story about wage compression? Someone on the good side of it?
I do. I have a family member who was with a company for years. So I believe 11 years, 10 or 11 years, and left, and has been away 2 or 3 years, and, stayed in contact with coworkers and, saw them in the community, went to softball games, grocery store, meetups, things like that. And the previous company reached back out and said, would you be interested in coming back? And my family member said, yeah, let's talk. What would that look like? And the company said, well, we would really love to have you. And so they started talking about compensation, and the compensation was considerably higher than when they had left. And, my family member said, I've gotten used to a little bit more time off. I'm going to need a little bit more vacation time when I came back. And the hiring manager granted that. And my family member said, I'd like my, pension benefits restored from where they were 3 years ago. And the company granted that, and I was just delighted, to listen to this story, for my family member. It was very exciting. And then, when the conversation ended, my mood turned to, how is my family member going to be embraced back in that environment? Because there are going to be people, who learn that they're not making as much money. They haven't gotten the regular increases. And by leaving, my family member benefited greatly. And I think that sends the message that maybe I have to leave in order to get ahead.
Yeah, it's amazing. Terry, in the chat, we have a comment, and it just made me think of something. It's talking about how everything we've been talking about, it's been rampant in different industries, including tech and education. And I just saw that, and it reminded me of, I was seeing a lot of tech jobs. People were getting hired with wage compression, on the good side of wage compression.
Mm-hmm.
And a few months later, I was seeing those very same tech workers who had left their jobs. And this is what I think causes some fear for people. Those same people that had left their jobs, taken the benefit, like found wage compression, made more money, got laid off. A little bit of the last in, first out, LIFO. So it can go, it almost creates it creates a situation where control, even when it's positive, can turn negative quickly, and you don't have the control. And I've seen that as a key.
We talked last episode about the fact that when you do get laid off, there's some psychological trauma that goes on around that. How long did you tell me that psychological trauma usually lasts, Ray?
Yep. I heard 2 years, and I saw it as we were discussing. It was from a agency that was placing people, but the psychological trauma will last typically 2 years, which is weird, Terry, when you start to think about once people start that vicious layoff cycle, how often do they normally, like, what do you tell people if they should expect in terms of getting laid off once you've been laid off once? How often is it going to happen in, say, the next 10 or 20 years?
Yeah. What I hear is that the next job lasts 2 or 3 years. And then you're back into that cycle. So maybe it's your second layoff, and then that job's going to last 2 or 3 years. And then it occurs again.
So if this is happening, Terry, you're going from psychological trauma to psychological trauma. I mean, I'm not laughing about it. It just occurred to me, that's a vicious cycle.
2 or 3 years times 2 or 3 jobs can be a decade of psychological trauma, right, as you go through this roller coaster, that's in the marketplace. And so that means that you're just never quite settled. And so, I've got a lot of people that I'm working with right now that are experiencing workforce reduction in the middle of this roller coaster. And we do a simple exercise. I ask them, project how old you think you will be at retirement age. When do you expect to retire? What's that number look like? Might be 62, could be 65, could be 67, could be 70. Take whatever you project that number to be and subtract it from your current age. Take the difference between those two numbers and divide by 2 or 3. And that's how many more jobs you will have in your lifetime if the trend that's going on right now continues into the future. And that's a startling realization for most people that I'm working with, which is why they're looking at small business ownership, because they'll never be fired. They'll never be laid off again. They won't be victims of workforce reduction if they own their own business. What counsel did you give the people you're working with, Ray?
Well, Tara, one of the things I've been telling people is by the time they're talking to me, they've already self-selected a little bit, honestly, because I think when you have this trauma and you've gone through it and you start seeing it, the first time you're laid off, you and I spoke about this before, I think a lot of people think of it almost as a sabbatical.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's not the worst thing in the world that first time. It's the second and on that it starts to, that's when wage compression, you can use it a different way. That's when you're getting 70% of what you used to make. And that's really awful. That's bad.
Really awful.
And you're feeling it's like your fault. So anyway, the people I'm talking to, I think before I talk to them, you have two types. You have the turtle. I call it the turtle. They pull in their legs and they put their head in the shell and they just kind of hope they last through it. Right. So that's one way to deal with it. It's not really the way I deal with it, but it's one way to deal with it. The second way to deal with it is turn this negativity into positivity. Like find a way, use the energy and take control. And those people are looking at their options. Some of them are saying, hey, I'm just going to switch over. I'm going to be an owner operator. I'm going to control. It's going to be on me, and I'm going to replace that income and have someone else making the decision, and I'm going to do it. Some people, and matter of fact, a lot of people are saying, I'm going to keep the job, but I'm not giving up control. So I'm going to go look for a job, but I'm also going to look and start a business so I can have control, because I'm never going to get laid off again and be put in that position. And I think that's taking control. And I think that's a very healthy way to go and look and see what your options are.
So they're building an off-ramp to their corporate career when they realize that they're most likely at the end of a corporate career. And they're asking themselves the question, about timing in their life as they look across the entire spectrum of their career. They're asking themselves, is franchising right for me? Is franchise ownership, the way to go with this? Maybe I should just, start my own consulting practice, or maybe I should evaluate franchising, or man, I've had an idea for this new app, and I think this app could really gain market share. So a cold startup as opposed to a very warm startup with a franchising. Who's franchising right for, Ray? When you get on a Q&A call, who's right for franchising?
Yeah, that's a great question, Terry. I think franchising can be right for many different types of people, and it can be wrong for different types of people. And I think different franchises are really good for certain people and really bad for the others.
Agreed.
So if you want a business where if you're Bill Gates and you want a business that you're going to control everything and you're going to make every decision, and they can give you the playbook, but you're not going to use it. Probably not. Franchising probably not the business for that person, realistically. However, for instance, if you're a veteran and you can take systems and standard operating procedures, if you value a safety net, if you value guardrails, could be very good for you. If you like to have a book that tells you, the process, could be very good for you. So I think it can be for a lot of people. Here's a trick, though. I think a lot of people don't know until they start to look. I really don't. I think you have to understand, if you start looking at, let's pick on McDonald's. If I start looking at McDonald's and I'm going through the process, and somewhere in the process, I'm like, I know they sell burgers, but I got a better idea. We're gonna go all vegan because that's gonna work great where I live. Now, I'm not saying going all vegan on a fast food place is a bad idea or a good idea. I'm not making that value judgment, but I don't think you should buy a McDonald's and do that. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense, because McDonald's has thousands of locations. They have systems that were started back when Ray Kroc was selling milkshake machines, and McDonald's brothers had this conveyor belt system for cooking burgers. Nobody had ever seen it. And, here we are today. McDonald's still does the same type of thing. My wife and I went into a McDonald's over the weekend, to get a quick meal because we were traveling. And, I just stood there in an amazement. That movie that I watched with Michael Keaton, wasn't much different than what I saw happening, behind that counter as we were making our order. And that's what, franchises are. They're operating systems. Is it all fast food? No, not all fast food. There are over 4,000 franchises in the U.S. marketplace. There are white-collar B2B franchises. There are blue-collar business-to-consumer franchises, and that's one of the benefits of working with a consultant, is to talk about, what's the appropriate management system for you and your skills and your goals, and what type of franchises match up with that. And, who is right for franchising? You and I have, just a little simple method that we've developed over the years for, asking ourselves when we're in conversation if somebody's right for franchising, but applies to everybody in the audience today. Do you have the ABCs of franchising, right? So the A stands for Ambition. Yeah. Do you have, the desire to get up out of bed in the morning and use someone else's business systems, be trained by them, be supported by them, but to go out and build a business in your local community? Ambition, right? What's the B, Ray?
Business skills.
Do you have business skills? Yeah. What business skills do you need, Ray?
What are you bringing to the table? It's going to depend on which is the right business for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're finding a business that was going to require you to do a lot of customer service, you better have customer service skills. You either better have the skills or the aptitude to learn the skills. And sometimes we'll get that. But the skills you need for different businesses are going to be part of identifying the right business that, again, takes you from where you are today to where you want to be. It's the vehicle. And if you can't drive the vehicle, it's not the right vehicle for you. I mean, it's as simple as that. So you have to understand what your skills are, your business skills, your aptitudes. What are the skills? What are the aptitudes you have that you can develop the skills? Those, all kinds of different aspects of it. And then find the vehicle, the businesses that make sense for you.
Yeah, and working with a consultant, who can question you, who can go back and forth and help you talk out, in a non-stress environment, is one of the benefits of working with a franchise consultant. And the third of the ABCs is the letter C, and that stands for capital to invest. You're looking at buying into a business system. And so you need some skin in the game. You need some cash, you need some liquidity, you need some good credit. What do those parameters look like, Ray? I'm sure everybody on the call, says, okay, quantify that for me. Put some brackets around that.
Right. It can be as high as hotels, millions and millions of dollars in investment. It can be as low as tens of thousands of dollars, depending upon potentially a consulting type business. Most people we're working with, they're bringing minimum of 50 to 75 liquid. They're generally bringing 150 plus net worth. But if you're looking at investor options, you're looking at higher amounts, generally speaking. If you're looking at executive models, which are manage the managers, we've talked about this in previous episodes. If you're looking at executive models of growth and you're keeping your job, I'm seeing people who have, 500,000 net worth minimum in that situation, generally speaking, 100 to 200 liquidity on the low end. That's generally what you're seeing.
Yeah, if you're out there surfing around, and a lot of the people we work with are, they're looking online for franchises. Number one, beware of the portals. We could talk about that in a minute, excuse me. But if you're looking at a franchise, look for the total project cost. What does it take to get all in to that business?
Total project, not one fee that can be taken out of context. What is it going to cost you to get into the business? And Terry, include what? Working
capital. Yeah.
Thank you.
So the three elements of total project cost are the franchise fee. That's a one-time fee paid at the beginning of the relationship to the franchise company. Number two is the hard cost to start the business. It costs a lot more to start a 4,000 square foot brick and mortar retail operation than it does to start a home-based B2B business. So what is the hard cost to start the business? And then working capital, as you said, you're going to need some liquidity to pay the lease, to buy inventory, to run marketing or advertising campaigns, to pay your labor costs. So you got to have working capital there. And today you need, pretty good credit, 650 plus.
Generally speaking, yep.
Yeah, generally, most franchise companies consider that to be pretty good credit.
Right.
And Ray and I have 4 franchise funding companies that we've worked with over the last 15 years that specialize in helping you find the right money. So Ray and I specialize in helping you find the right franchise. And we have relationships that we can introduce you to with these funding companies where they will help you find the right money. And these run parallel. They run right beside each other. A lot of people I've worked with over the years want to find the right franchise and then go find the right money. But if you start looking at both of them at the same time, you're going to have a different outcome. You might find a different business because you can afford a little bit more, or maybe you don't have to spend as much. And
Right.
so be happy to introduce you as one of our resources to these companies so you can find the right money. And just like Ray and I, there's no cost for this service. There's no obligation to look at franchise funding. There's no obligation on the part of the franchise companies to get a strategy on paper, to get introduced to companies and go through their investigation. Our franchise companies don't charge you for that. And Ray and I don't charge you for working with us. Now, how can that be, Ray? Everybody, I talk to is a little skeptical. It's like, okay, yeah, no cost, no obligation, no catch. How does that work?
Yeah, those things kind of, people think it's too good to be true, and when things are too good to be true, you always think, oh, there's the hidden catch. The reality is just educate yourself on any of these things. Like there are some things that are not too good to be true. You can have a no obligation, no catch. We can help you do that. But have you ever found somebody who says no obligation, no catch, and there was an obligation and there was a catch? There was. So the reality is anytime someone says these kind of things, you have to look at them and how they deal with you and what the history is. If you look at Terry's history, you're going to see that if he says there's no obligation and there's no catch, there is none. And I would say the same for me. So it's one of those things when we're going through this, we want to help you make an informed, educated decision, which starts from the beginning of understanding who you are and what you want, all the way to your skills, to identifying options, to doing your homework so that you can make the best decision for you and your family. And the best decision might be right now, there's a great business and we're going to high five you. And the decision might be, I'm going to be a business owner, but the timing's not right, and we're going to high five you. And the decision could be, hey, I'm not a business owner. Some people aren't. Doesn't mean you're not smart. Not everybody is going to be a business owner. So that's also, I'm going to high five you. You might not like it as much at that point, but in the end, you'll thank us. So I think that's what you mean by that. And when you see people online, by the way, I see a question, Terry. I'm looking at questions while where Terry's leading this conversation. I see a question about, what are some of the best home-based B2B franchises? And I'll throw that to you. But before I do that, I want to tell everybody out there, there's been something I've been seeing a lot. And I said earlier, not every franchise consultant or coach or broker or whatever you want to call it are the same. Some want to work with 10 or 20, 30, 50, 100 people at a time. And, you can get whatever you want as long as it's exactly what they're showing everybody else. And that's up to you if that's the right decision. I know Terry is not going to work with people who are working with multiple brokers. I'm not. But some people will, and that's up to you if that's what you need. But I want everybody to be careful because this question begs it. I see some things out there now, and here's a good rule of thumb. Like, how do I tell if I'm online and I see someone who says they're like you, Terry, but instead of doing it your way, they're like, oh, you'll make 1.5 million top line, or you'll get, X percentage bottom line. Yeah. Be careful, right? Like, are they shilling that company? I don't know. Sounds like it. There's reality is, even if we could give you numbers, we aren't, because it's not good for you. So that's a good way to kind of, we're going to empower you. The people who are and there's going to be people who are going to sell you. Learn the difference, right? And do whatever's better for you. I want to work with the people who want to be empowered, who want to make the decision after they've gotten the information. And if that's not the people out, if that's not you, that's fine. Just, it's not the right fit. So
Yeah,
do you want to take that? How do you want to answer that question about the best home-based business B2B?
That's sage advice, Ray. Very, very good advice on just touching the surface of how to investigate the money around a franchise. Everybody wants to know, how much money can I make? It's probably the question. The corresponding question that we get all the time is, what does it cost? So if what does it cost is our number one question, then how much can I make is definitely number two.
Right.
Yeah, I'll take a run at that question. I jotted some notes down there when you asked me. So, in good economies and bad, it's been my experience, over the last 20 years that households spend money on three things. Okay. Kids, pets, and parents. So, if you want to look at a home-based business, look at something to do with kids. Okay. That can be an after-school enrichment program. That can be an after-school sports program. That can be a tutoring program. We get a lot of demand for tutoring out of our educational system these days.
Right.
Very, very strong business. And what about pets?
Pets are, especially, this has been going on. I've noticed it over the last 20 years, where more and more people are treating their pets like members of the family. They spend more money on it with their disposable income. That only increased during the pandemic. Only increased. So you're seeing more and more there, and there's all kinds of different. It's bringing it to the people. You see these mobile businesses that are going out there. You also see the businesses that are doing the retail. And we have a quick follow-up from the person. They're like, they understand that, but they're looking for B2B. And actually, my answer to that question on B2B, there are some very good B2B, but it's really dependent upon you when you're looking at home-based B2B. I mean, it depends on your skill set and your actual who you are. I would suggest to you, Spider, that you make an appointment, just a quick couple minutes, so we get a sense of you and your skill sets. I just want to make sure we answered any question. I love the questions that we have coming in, and we're trying to get them all, but we probably won't get everyone. But make an appointment, a quick Q&A with Terry or myself, and we'll do the best we can to answer that question. So sorry to go on that tangent there. So
yeah. So are there B2B white collar franchises? Yeah, absolutely there are. Okay. And if you have in that ABC, if you have the business skills for that, yes, there are white collar franchises, consulting, coaching, expense reduction, staffing. Those are light medical. Those are 4 or 5 that come to my mind, immediately. And so, yes.
I can also think of a blue collar one, more of a lone wolf one that's B2B as well, home based. So there are options out there. The short answer to those questions, there's options, and that's the beauty. Like when we talk about this, we're talking in a lot of generalities because there's so many different people with different aspects. It's so much fun to be able to take somebody's questions when we get with the one-on-one. That's where you get the excitement of what's going on. It's why the one size fits all, I find kind of disingenuous when I see it out there. $1 million business, add water, stir. Well, okay.
As part of an investigation, Ray and I are going to teach you how to talk to 3 groups of people, right? We're going to teach you how to talk to the franchise company, right? There's a specific way to talk to them, that will put you at the front of the line. We call those people Z's. Excuse me, Zors. I'll get the Z's in a minute. ZORS. That is the franchisor, the franchise company. We're going to teach you how to talk to them. Next, we're going to talk to you about how to have conversations with the Z's. These are franchisees, okay? So we shorten it to Z's, okay? And when you talk to a franchisee about how much money they're making, everyone you talk to is going to name a different amount of money. Every business owner in the country makes a different net profit at the end of the day. There's not a cookie cutter where they all have to line up based on how they run their business, how their business has grown. They all make a different number. And our process is about talking to a lot of them and taking an average of those numbers, taking the high, taking the low, taking the average, and understanding what you need to do in your daily work. What is the role of the owner to create that range of income? Do you want to be in the top 20%? Then you'll have to do this. Are you comfortable in the middle 60%? Then you can do these things. Do you want to fail? Do you want to be in the lower 20% of anybody's system? Then don't do these things. Don't create success. Do the failure habits, and you're not going to be a happy camper. We're going to teach you how to have those conversations. And so when you see one number make this amount of money, it's just not the way it works. We're going to teach you the way it works. We're going to teach you an informed decision process. Now, you can find that entire informed decision process in our learning community at hireyourbestboss.com. We've got 4 different segments of the informed decision process, and that's our gift to you. We don't charge for this. We give it to you right up front so you can understand what working with us will be like. And, we'd just be tickled if you went there and visited. Sign up for our newsletter. It comes out every Saturday morning or every other Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Every other Saturday morning. I just can't, figure it out without coffee on Saturday mornings. So that's when my downtime starts. And we also have, free question and answer calls, and then a no cost, no obligation, no catch service. If you want to engage with us and get specific custom franchises for you, that's what Ray and I do. I think we're about ready to wrap up here today, Ray. What do you have that we haven't touched on?
No, I think we've gotten it. I appreciate all the questions. Any other questions that you have, if you want to talk to us, just send it over to us. Sign up for that. That franchise roadmap, which is on the Hire Your Best Boss, those are like 4 different video seminars in chunk bite-sized pieces. Sign up for that. You're going to get a lot of the information that you're looking for, and I think you'll find it very useful. So I hope you guys do it. And we are here to talk to you guys about your wage compression, how to avoid it, how to have other options so that you're in control and you get to make your informed decision, and no one else has that control. So we'd love to have the opportunity to chat with you and try to share our expertise and our knowledge and learn a lot about you.
Yeah, if you've been a victim of workforce reduction or you think you are about to be, we'd love to talk to you. We can show you all the benefits of small business ownership, and then you get to decide, is it the right timing? Is it the right business? Is it right for my family? Thanks for being here with us today. Thanks for connecting with us on LinkedIn. Just a big thank you to everybody.